Hello, this is what I've been thinking. Um, Thank you for joining me. Um, this video I do not do with a lot of enjoyment. I don't like critiquing, my people. But there's a conversation that we need to have, Black community. Um, I'll first start off with a quote from Malcolm so you guys will know where I'm coming from. Quote, I want to be remembered as someone that was sincere, even if I made mistakes. They were in sincerity. If I was wrong, I was wrong in sincerity. I can deal with a person that is wrong as long as they are sincere. Now, I give that quote for the caveat that some of you might feel I might be wrong by my approach or my strategy or some of the things that I might say. But I want you to know that they come from a sincere place, whether you agree or you disagree. First and foremost, I didn't do this video for any white trolls who want to get on and insult Black people or any racists in general. This is not for that. This is a talk with the Black community on some things which I feel that we should talk about. And since I don't have a phone to just call up every single Black person, this is the only other way I can think of doing it. So, with that said, I'll tell you the topic of this segment, and we will get into it. So, the topic of this segment is Black voters and their abusive relationship with the Democratic Party. It doesn't give me joy to say that or to look at it that way. But I feel like that's the way you have to start looking at it. Granted, I didn't coin the title. I got that title off of an article, which I read. I believe it was either in Independent or Guardian or something like that. But that's kind of been, I guess that's been the point of view of many Black leftists, that there's a problem, and the problem first starts in the Black community, and trying to correct this problem. Now, what I've come to realize is whichever way the Black vote goes, the rest of the Democratic Party will follow, even though we are a smaller demographic than majority of the members who are, I won't say majority of the members, the majority of the voters who will actually put them into office. The Black population in America ranges from somewhere from 13 to 18%. I believe it's like around 14% of people have enough leverage to put pressure. They don't have enough leverage to completely take over or do major things, but they have enough leverage to make you pay attention. And the conversation I want to have is, we have not been making them pay attention. If you're one of those people who you care more about, LeBron James' stats, or Nicki Minaj's newest hit, or Cardi B, or whatever, Q got this new old school whip, a 67. If that's what you're worried about, you are one of the people who I'm trying to get through to. You are part of why we're dealing with some of the problems that we're dealing with. And when I mean the problems that we're dealing with, I'm talking about these exact problems also. These race problems that we've been dealing with. The police they've never really been our friends. And those of you guys who are astute on your history, you know about how the police force came into existence. They were basically old slave patrols. The law enforcement in this country has been based coming from that old slave system. A lot of the ways our legal system is constructed with those same weaknesses and blinders in place. Now, you go back to the 20s. You had our people were building things and voting and doing other things, and they were building up, and it was destroyed, taken away. Jim Crow, the Klan, there's so many different ways that they attacked black people. So many different ways. For us to finally start having progress, coming out of the 50s and going into the 60s and going into the 70s, having progress. I get it, older black voters. You guys watched a lot of your leaders be assassinated. I get that. And I feel that, I don't know, if maybe the fear of being engaged and pushing back pushed a lot of, black voters away from really being engaged in politics and only looking at things from the lesser of two evils. I don't know if there's just a disconnect that's going on between especially younger black voters and older black voters. Joe Biden right now is walking towards being the nominee. And this is because of older black voters, specifically in places like South Carolina, which in South Carolina, those older black voters came out for Joe Biden on the backing mostly of James Clyburn. Something ridiculous, like 70% of the electorate made up their vote on James Clyburn. Now, I don't know how many of you guys have been to South Carolina. South Carolina, landscape-wise, is beautiful. But South Carolina is run like shit. And the black people in charge know that. And the black people who keep voting for these people, you guys are the problem. The reason why, we're all upset about a George Floyd situation, but you guys allowed the police to continuously do this decade after decade after decade. No response. You didn't push back on politicians to ask for them to do anything as things were getting worse. Some people say, you know what? You're being a little unfair. They didn't have internet and all this stuff like you guys do. That's true. But there were libraries. Also, there were books. I learned a lot of my political philosophy and things from books. People say, well, you can't know about when Bill Clinton lied about that, or when Hillary said this, or you can't know about. Yes, you can. I mean, there's people like Bob Woodward, who writes amazing books all the time. He has a book called Obama's Wars, which Bob Woodward is, if you guys don't know who he is, Bob Woodward is the writer that actually met with Daniel Ellsberg and released the Pentagon Papers. He has basically been up close and personal with every American president over the last like 40 years, and other high level political staff and movers and shakers in DC. This man does not go to one person and then say, okay, well, that's a source, and one other person. This man vets the sources to his sources to his sources. People like this are out there who are giving information to us. There's financial information that we also should be passing down to our children to help them get ahead, so that we're not all starting back off at jump every single time, somebody's child hits 18. Our community, we have many deficiencies, and we are not asking for anything. Now, yeah, that's nice and great that Diddy say, hey, this is transactional, we need to get something. It's nice that Q tweeted out, what Charlemagne said, talking about we need tangibles. But let me clarify something for you guys real quick. This is not about actually getting any tangibles. These handful of people who are talking about these tangibles, if you make, I don't know, random ex-black person VP, that's all they need. But that doesn't change anything as far as stopping, some of this police brutality. It's not going to curb racism. Honestly, even on the economic front, it's not going to do a damn thing. And what I want to say to you, black people, is just because a person looks like us does not mean they are for us. Kamala Harris out here in California were locking black and Latinos up like it was nobody's business. She didn't care, because how you see, oh, well, I'm black, and if I get in power, then I will take care of and help other black people. That's not how they think. And you need to stop giving them the benefit of doubt and believing they think that way. If you guys would have done, a lot of older voters, if you've done your research on Bernie Sanders, actually the policies, how they actually would have been implemented. There's no candidate, well, there's maybe 2 candidates that were actually offering something to our community. And we chose the one who was literally saying, I'm giving you nothing. We took the one that was just like, I had a black best friend. That's it. You guys, it's kind of like a discussion which I was hearing, somebody I consider a mentor in a way. I don't know him, but kind of an unofficial mentor I learned through his books, which I've read, Dr. Claude Anderson. And he talked about when they were trying to do a lot of the integration in the South, him being from North Carolina, and his family ran a bus line down there with a couple other families grouped together. I think he said something anywhere from 200 to 500. I just know it was hundreds of buses that they were running their own bus line. And he made the point, the Rosa Parks, Martin Luther King, bus issue about sitting in the front of the bus. We spend a year fighting to sit in front of the bus instead of saying, you know what, why don't we take our money away from their buses altogether? They don't want us to sit in the front of the bus. They want to give us these funky rules. Why don't we pull our money away? And that's something that it's really stuck with me, because what I realized is on almost everything since the 70s, basically, and most of our black leaders have been assassinated and taken out, and there's been virtually no leadership there. That huge void was never filled. with that void not being filled, somewhere along the line, substance of everything got lost. For instance, when we think about King, a lot of people like to talk about his "I Have a Dream" speech. Here, I'm gonna give you a quote real quick, which this is one of my favorite King quotes. Now, some of you guys out there are not going to be surprised that you guys probably already know this quote, might have it memorized, but I wanted to bring it up so I can read it to you and you could think about this. Think about this, black people, because so long ago, this has not changed. This was after he was arrested. This is Birmingham jail, I believe. I'm not sure, but it doesn't matter. He was locked up, and he was having trouble actually getting out. Man, this is the quote from the time. "I have been gravely disappointed with the white moderate. I have almost reached the regrettable conclusion that the Negro's great stumbling block in his stride towards freedom is not the white citizen KKK Klanner, Ku Klux Klanner, sorry, but the white moderate who is devoted to order than justice." End quote. End quote. That was Martin Luther King Jr. Now, the only thing that has changed from that time period is that it's not just white moderates anymore. It's black moderates too. We have gotten content with a little bit of peace and gestures versus substance. When they fought just to have a spot, a better spot on the bus, what did we get from that? I'm not saying I'm against integration, but I'm saying if we spend more time focusing on the more token things that we can accumulate versus actual substance, our community is going to continuously get worse and worse and worse. I got a couple more quotes for you here. I won't take too long. I already took long enough, but I'm trying to wrap this up. I don't want anybody to take this as, is this criticism? Yes, but please take this as constructive and not negative. Another quote from Malcolm says, "Don't be in a hurry to condemn because he doesn't do what you do or think as you think or as fast. There was a time when you didn't know what you know today." Now that's where I look at it. A lot of you guys don't necessarily know everything. Some of you guys do know a lot of this stuff and should be ashamed of yourself. You guys have not been fighting for us. You've been selling us out. And I'm talking about people like, what's his name? John Lewis. I'm talking about a Clyburn. There's plenty of people, Bobby Rush, and pretty much almost the whole CBC has completely sold out. But yet, it doesn't matter. Whoever they throw up, 90-something% of the black vote. And, and my family, I'm going to talk about the crime bill in detail. So we're going to get into that. But we keep allowing. For instance, Joe Biden brags that black people are the ones who keep him in office, who have kept him in office. The man hasn't run for anything in like 12 years. So it's not keeping you still in office because you're not in office. You were VP, and that 8-year stretch was carried by Obama. So I mean, you brought a little bit. Like nobody was really voting for Joe Biden. So what you guys have to start thinking about is, when is the last time that he was actually doing any real legislation? His last legislation is going back to the early 2000s, basically. A decade earlier, he was writing the crime bill. Now, for those people who try to say, well, that was a long time ago. Social Security was done how long ago? Do you still not benefit from it? That's my point. Laws don't just, the consequences of laws don't just expire. They don't dissipate. They're still there. So for every bad law that's put out there, that law is there until somebody does another law to get rid of that law or to circumvent that law. But bad laws don't just go away. I mean, you never asked why our prison population was exploding. That never crossed, a lot of older black voters' minds. That maybe the government has something to do with this. I mean, you had Malcolm and King warning of a lot of these things. Bobby Seale, the Panthers, you had people who were trying to educate you on what's going on. Things haven't changed very much. They've gotten more technical. That's it. There's a lot more money. But things haven't changed very much. Haven't changed very much at all. I'm just asking for you guys to really get in the fight. Sorry. Got to get my notes together. But I'm asking for you guys to really, really, really seriously get in the fight. Start holding people accountable. And just having another black face in there ain't good enough. That black face needs to be bringing something. Part of that problem is because many of you sit glued to CNN, MSNBC, and you never question a word that comes out of anybody on those networks' mouth. Not a word. Take it all. And yet, I will tell you guys how much I research. I will show you it. And some people out there who were a little bit doubtful on certain things I was saying, I've showed them the information. I haven't had a time when they've come back and proven me wrong. But yet, these same people will still continuously listen to these liars on TV. I'm gonna give you this. I'm gonna give you this speech, not speech, but I'm gonna give you a quote from Malcolm real quick. So you can kind of hear he was trying to warn everybody back then. You guys are not listening. Okay, here's the quote. This is the media, an irresponsible media. It will make criminals look like the victim. Let me back that up. It will make criminals look like the victim. Do you guys not remember Trayvon Martin? And then they start bringing up how, well, in school they said that he smoked weed, and they start bringing up Skittles, and he was wearing a hoodie. None of that stuff was important to bring up. But they were making the victim look like the criminal. Okay, I'll continue on. If you aren't careful, the media will have you hating the people who are being oppressed and loving the oppressors. Now, I'll say that one more time. They will have you hating those being oppressed and loving the oppressors. Now, black wealth dropped under Obama dramatically. Home ownership, all kind of stats. Flint water crisis, didn't take care of that. South Carolina, was it Denmark, South Carolina? Didn't take care of that. Fracking going on all over Texas. And then, a lot of times when I bring up, we went from 2 wars to 7 wars under Obama, bombing multiple places. Do we forget which people go to the military? Lower income, blacks and Latinos. So when you guys have it in there that, well, all we need is like another Obama. Are tokens only enough? Do you not want the big prize? Do you only want tokens? No substance, just tokens. Just one little quarter for the jukebox and you're done. It's frustrating because I listen online to these same older black voters call people like me Russian bots, all kind of other crazy stuff, because you guys sit there and listen to propaganda crap all day long, believing it's right and everybody else is wrong without doing any research. At least if you guys researched the stuff which you parrot out, it would give me at least a little bit of more, okay, maybe they have something here, but you guys literally just parrot back word for word. No research, no listen for omissions. Because a lot of times they don't necessarily just lie. Sometimes they just don't say things. I mean, for instance, if you're watching MSNBC and CNN right now, pause it when they bring that panel on. And I want you to look up every single person's bio. Look up their bio. When you look up their bio, you will see a trend. You will see, if they're talking about defense contractor. You will see they're talking about, why healthcare, why Medicare for all can't work. Blue Cross, Blue Shield sitting right there. They're not doing it in a complicated way either. They're not hiding this information. This information is right there in front of you. Now, they've ratcheted the screws down tighter and tighter and tighter on Generation X, younger Generation X, and millennials. We have been trying to tell you people what is going on for us. And then you follow the narrative of throwing away the person that we feel like is the compromise, kind of our only hope to actually get something, some kind of substance, anything. And you guys piss on that for old creepy Joe. Black voters, if you're not going to do your research and take these matters seriously and realize that you are harming your children, you are harming your grandchildren, you are harming your great-grandchildren because of stubbornness mostly and a refusal to listen. Spend more time listening to people who are always willing to rip you off and sell you down the river, and then cautiously listen to the people who love you, who only want to help you. I guess I'll leave it there. Hopefully, maybe something gets across and you guys start listening, or just get out of the way. Just get out of the way. I'll leave it at that. You guys have a good one. Thank you.